Infinity Train.
You made me feel things. Well, you didn't. These guys.
Oh, and you didn't want to feel things. Like you're watching the first half of this cartoon, you're like, this I hate everyone. I'm ready to punt everyone off of here. They're all bad
Really?
people.
I
And
loved
then
1-1
1-1.
from Jump Street. I loved them. And I was positive it was Stephen Merchant. I was positive.
I could see it. I could see it.
I was like, oh yeah, Stephen Merchant, got it. Because it reminds me of not Weasley. What's his name in
Wheatley.
Wheatley? And that's who it reminded me of.
Yeah.
And it also reminded me of Marvin, the paranoid android from
I yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide.
I think he was definitely inspired by Wheatley. Obviously, the selection of voice actor, even the look of him, really is very Wheatley-esque.
Yeah.
His character's constant search for his mother, his like lack of understanding of everything.
Oh, yeah, my mommy.
Man, 1-1. They are both named one.
Good one and sad one, or
It's
glad one and sad one.
yeah, happy, sad, and I love that character is named one.
Yeah.
So, Infinity Train. Spoiler warning, way spoiler warning, because there is no way you can talk about
Obviously.
this
Yeah.
without really ruining the ending. Like it, if you want to watch it at episode 1 and you're not going to go all the way through it, then like no worries. But like if you're going to go through it, like you can't even talk about the early parts without contextualizing them from later. So a girl who is a programmer, her name is Tulip. She is going to coding camp.
Voiced by Ashley Johnson, who I've loved since Growing
Is she?
Pains and
Huh.
Recess. She was in What Women Want, but she's done a lot of voice acting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she is going to coding camp. All we know about her is her parents are divorced and she eats onions like an apple, like a sociopath. She's just
Which is
straight.
such a funny, like such a weird uh uh detail to have about a character, but it's so great.
And they're not like, yeah, so she eats onions. They're like, onions are the one true answer. If you don't like onions, fuck you. Like
First of all,
not only is she sitting there eating it like an apple, but like her pencil has an onion eraser. Like she's not just a
oh,
flavor onion fan, she's an aesthetic onion fan.
she even has an onion icing and onion cake later in one of the trains,
Yeah,
which I was like,
onion
because of
cake.
course she did. Yeah, and they're like, yeah, everyone loves onion cake. Blah 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 blah.
Uh, but like, so she's going to coding camp, but due to a calendar mix-up from her very divorced parents, no one can take her. It's like 300 miles away. And that's another detail that they will not stop talking about. Her parents are divorced, and the divorce is causing all of the problems. Um, so she decides she is going to run away and go to coding camp by herself.
Oshkosh.
She's going to walk the 300 miles, uh, like the guys from the Benny and June movie.
God, man, I know Benny and June. I mean,
It's
Aiden
okay.
Quinn. But I've never seen it.
It's okay to not get that reference. There was a song from it. It's I'm gonna be 500 miles, or I would walk 500 miles.
Oh, the Proclaimers. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be the Scottish twins. Anyway, I got
Yeah.
you. I
So
forgot it was from that.
that is the uh like I thought Benny and June was going to be a huge movie back then. I was like, this is it, guys. This is the movie. Anyway, so Tulip is walking 300 miles to Wisconsin or through Wisconsin, and she gets knocked over by a train she wasn't expecting. And she's like, well, that's weird. Why is there a train here? And she starts to try to get on the train, but then suddenly there's like a portal and it's unclear. She gets knocked out and wakes up in a snowy field. Like, oh, I guess I was just dreaming about a train. But no. She is on the train in a snow cart. There's a whole bunch of
And boom,
different.
she actually had hypothermia and she's actually dead.
Yeah.
Spoiler. No, I'm just kidding.
So she meets the least helpful character in the whole show. His name is 1-1. He's a ball that splits in two, both named One. One is very happy and excited to help. The other is not confident in a good outcome for anything. Like optimist, pessimist, happy, sad, bipolar, small robot named 1-1.
He's everything, and I love him.
And there is no subtlety with him either. Everything is extreme. He's like, you can't open the door. It's impossible. The only exit is hypothermia.
Yes. Yes. I wish I'd written a lot of his things down because he's so funny.
Like, I'm sorry, you must die to leave. And it's just like, huh? And if you trust him, like, you will completely fail because like the first thing she does is like, oh, that sucks that we're locked in. Let me try the door. Wait, the door just opens? And he's like, you can reach doorknobs? And like that's when you're like, okay, this character just can't be trusted. So she leaves the first car and goes to the second car where it's just like squares all over the walls, like just white squares. And if you touch any of them, it spawns a square on top of that. So they can make all kinds of weird shapes. Yeah. And then they try to like leave the train because she was like, you know what? Let's not play the train game. Let's just walk away from it. Except outside is this crazy wasteland with these weird monsters that appear to like Dementor suck her soul out, you know? Like very clearly Harry Potter was watched right before making this show. These are
They're like big roaches.
flying
Ugh.
cockroaches with one tentacle. Just like
Whoa.
and they
And like a fuzzy, like a tentacly
mouth.
Yeah, a maw.
So they escape those guys and decide to stay in the cars. From there, they get to the beach car where they meet Cat, the Cat.
Well, hold on now. So in that car though, with the blocks, she utilizes her game characters, the game that she has created. That's very clearly
good guys.
Yeah, good guys versus bad guys. Yeah, and it's Space Invaders.
Right.
And she's like, "This is the best game ever made," and I'm like, I mean, okay, but I think that it's important to mention moments where there are references to things we've already seen.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So we see that in the beginning where she can't figure out why her bad guy or her good guys don't shoot, don't protect themselves or whatever. And then she's like, oh, wait a second, and then codes, and then boom, and all of a sudden it's fixed. So I mean that comes up later here, And then
Right.
her coding ability, I suppose, comes up later as well. But it's not the first time that we see something that's taken from her actual life and is utilized inside the train.
Right. One of the things I think was funny, my girlfriend or my wife, sorry, still
Ah,
getting used to that, pointed out was that she tells 1-1 to build a wall. And he's like, it's more of a house than a wall. And she jumps through and he's like, I didn't put a roof on. Is that weird? And it cracks me up because she's like, it's like when you're building a house out of Legos. You know, you build the walls, but you never
yeah.
build the roof. Like that's never a thing that you think of or that you can, because building roofs out of blocks is hard. Um, yeah, that was a
Gosh, you should watch Lego Masters if you haven't. Anyway, I'm not going to get us sidetracked.
all right. So the beach car. The beach car, we run into the cat who is starting a pyramid scheme where she convinces Randall, a water creature, to sell a donut holder, which is a pipe that when you punch it into something, that thing now has a hole, which makes it a donut. And it cracks me up because this is so like every pyramid scheme, like we want you to be a salesman, not a customer. And I'm like, I don't want any company that wants me as a salesman because I'd be a terrible salesman. Like, uh, but it's just like every pitch meeting for those, like you're going to make so much money off of selling this thing. Um,
And the voice talents, we have Kate Mulgrew, Captain Janeway herself as the cat. And
yeah,
then one of my favorite people, actors, whatever, Rhys Darby as Randall.
as Randall.
I
Yeah.
love Rhys Darby.
And he's very excited to get started selling donut holders. So
Absolutely.
he winds up creating more Randalls to sell to and to help sell donut holders, of which they have one. But they are very highly motivated to be part of the capitalist team. Your wall exploded behind you, by the way.
Yeah, I turned on the light.
Uh,
See, and I can do maybe like a blue light. I can.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
love
so
having this thing. Anyway, there we
all
go.
right,
That's a good
so
light.
the cat says that she will take, or she will fix. She will what is it? Go talk to the conductor. She can go to the
Right.
conductor if they fix her ship. So Tulip's like, all right, we will fix the ship. So she fixed the cat's ship, and the cat's like, I'll go talk to the conductor for you if you give me 1-1. And 1-1 is completely useless at this point. So she's like, that seems like a win-win, really. But
Ah.
1-1 had given her a flower, uh, a daisy, thinking that it was a tulip because he doesn't know flowers. But so she makes the trade and almost immediately regrets it because she's given up someone who is nice to her in exchange for potential benefit for herself. And so she has Randall help her go stop the cat who's going off to talk to the conductor, I guess. And she takes in order to convince Randall to help, she has to take the donut holder. It's just a pipe. It's just a freaking pipe. And yeah, so she goes and catches up to the cat. Now, I swear this is a cartoon. We weren't on drugs. This is like a real thing they
Yeah.
put on TV. And it's funny because like you accept it when watching it, but when you're trying to retell the story, I'm like, this sounds absolutely ridiculous. Like it's the
There's this
level.
amoeba, and the amoeba wears pants, and the cat trying to sell this amoeba a pipe, but the pipe's a donut holder, but there's nothing that's actually a donut. And then this girl named Tula, she's not a flower, she's a real girl. And then she's trying to get this ball back that talks, and the only way to do that is to get the donut holder that again doesn't actually make donuts from the amoeba that's wearing pants. So,
And like,
and all of that's true.
and all like that is the surface narrative. This isn't like this is an easy to follow story, I swear. It reminds me of like trying to explain the plot of Super Mario Brothers, where you're like, okay, so there's these plumbers. They are extremely Italian, and they're in the Mushroom Kingdom. Italian plumbers in a Mushroom Kingdom, right? Where there are these tons of characters. Like that's the way I feel like I'm trying to explain this story. Okay, so they catch up to the car and get 1-1 back. 1-1 is like childishly ridiculous. Like the cat is like, hey, so if I put a hole in this hat, it's a donut, right? And the 1-1's like, yeah, of course. And she's like, and if I put it on my head, I'll die, right? And he's like, probably. And she's like, okay, we figured out this guy's intelligence level.
That's why I love him so much.
She's like, yeah, you're definitely going to die. And she's like, okay, I put it on and didn't die, so what do you know? And he's like, it would be weird if you never died. Think about it. It's like, that is such a frustrating answer. So
that's
okay.
like the kid in his intro to philosophy course where the professor's like, here's your final essay, why? And then the kid goes, why not?
Just that terrible logic. But okay, so then they get to the corgi car, which is
Cheddar.
hysterical.
I was hoping that there was going to be a corgi named Cheddar, but no, just a common bitch. If you don't watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that's not going to make sense.
I don't.
Oh, well, it's really funny. Anyway, continue with the recap.
I'm told there are SNL castmates on that show.
Yeah, I mean, it's Andy Samberg, but Terry Crews and Andre Braugher. So Andre Braugher is the talent there, and he is a very straight-laced gay police chief. And he has a corgi named Cheddar, and they've tried to pull off like fooling him with another corgi. And he's like, "That's not Cheddar. That's just some common bitch."
Is Cheddar royalty?
No.
Then I guess Infinity Train is better than Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because the corgi we are introduced to in the corgi car is King Atticus.
Voiced by who?
Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson, you're right.
Did not notice the first time I watched this.
Clearly the best Ghostbuster. Clearly the most forgotten Ghostbuster.
Mm-hmm. He's absolutely brilliant. So he is royalty, and like this world is like a paradise Roman utopia, but all about corgis. So like they have sunbeams that they just lay around in. I
actually was looking up, trying to find out what, because he was saying Corginia, and I was, for whatever reason, I typed it into my phone, and it didn't autocorrect or anything. Like Corginia is like in my iPhone's dictionary for some reason.
It's the kingdom of corgis, obviously.
How stupid of me.
But so he's a talking corgi, and he's like, things are fantastic here except the monster. So they look up on a mountain, and like there's this big shadowy, like wavy finger, like it looks like big shadowy fingers waving. And so they all go and hide inside, which hysterically, the door to their temple is a doggy door. They don't have real doors because they can't work the knobs or anything.
That's right. It makes sense.
My favorite line, the corgi, she's like, is everybody here a corgi? Yes. Like, how many do you have? We have 400 corgis, and 399 of them are cute. Because there's the one who's just, they're like, ugh, not that one. Such a dick move. But so there's a problem, the monster, and it's causing water to flood Corginia. So they cross the 2-foot high water to go fight the monster, only to find it is an orb that is glowing and casting a shadow from a very small spider.
Oh, it's like the allegory of the cave.
Yeah, Plato's allegory of the cave.
Yeah.
You have to go up there and see it, and like no one would believe that it's just a shadow because you don't know how shadows work.
Damn.
Yeah. So additionally, they find what do they call her? The custodian. This crazy. It's the monster from the Matrix. I don't know how else to put it. It's the monster from the Matrix with all the tentacles.
Yeah.
But this time it has a face and is pulling orbs out of place, these balls out of the walls of the car, and it's causing like havoc. So they put them back and the water dries up. And yeah, they decide they're going to leave the Corgi car and continue on their journey forward. Oh my God. I forgot like a huge plot point. That's how the show goes. Early on, Tulip discovers that her hand has a number on it.
I was wondering when you were going to bring up the numbers.
There's just so much to this crazy show, and we're like such marks for this sort of thing that we're just sitting there like, yep, numbers on the hands, completely reasonable, and like it doesn't even strike us as odd or mention worthy. Her hand has the number 115 on it, and sometimes she'll do some things for other people and the number won't go down. Sometimes it will go down, and it seems arbitrary. It's not very clear when. Yeah. So they move on. Then we go to the crystal car. Actually, I think after that, there's like an episode break where we see them leaving a car where it's like Italy, or is it the baseball car first? Where it's like dinosaurs playing baseball.
I didn't take detailed notes.
Yeah. But I didn't take detailed notes either. But like, so they go to the crystal car where they're like, we are trying to get to the door, but the door is like really up high. And there's this crystal monster is like, you have to sing an emotional song. And so she tries singing every emotional song she knows. They waste so much time here. But eventually she's like, wait, I just need to sing a song that's emotional to me. And it's like, just sing the first song that pops into your head. And like the car hears her heart. Like she doesn't say anything, but it just starts playing the backup music to a very not emotional song. But she's just like, it doesn't make sense. This is a song that like my family would sing on road trips. That's not an emotional song, but to her it really is. And we start seeing like once she sings it, obviously the door opens and they're allowed to leave, but like her number goes down and she's like, I don't understand. what's going on. So then we get to the cat car, and this is when like you really start understanding the train. So we get to this car, and it's filled with stuff, just stuff. Like it's
Right.
like an office that is like overfilled, but it's huge. And they find out the cat lives there, and she's not like mad. She's just, you know, she made a deal, and now the deal's off. But then the cat's like, well, why don't you watch this video, which has your name on it? This is your video, and it will explain more. Well, the video draws her in, and it's
This
showing
is where I
her.
started feeling stuff.
Yeah, and it starts showing her family all happy together. Like she is in the kitchen. They're like, hey, everything's great. Like her dad's wearing a shirt that says family forever on it.
Right.
And like, we made you an
This is where
onion
the onion
cake.
cake comes in. Yep.
Yeah, because she loves onions. And like, she has memories of like watching a TV and going to like SeaWorld with her family, and there's dolphins that are great. She loves the dolphins. But then she starts questioning it. She's like, wait a second, this doesn't exactly make sense. And she sees a memory of her sitting by the couch smiling, and she's like, this isn't right. Well, suddenly she's like covered in static, and she starts correcting those memories. She's like, when we went to SeaWorld, that's not what it was. It was, they were arguing about whether or not I needed glasses. They fought a
So
lot.
she could see the pyramid of dolphins.
Right. Pyramid, their natural state. Then like it's talking about her at home, where they're having the conversation about her the divorce, and she's seeing like them as like evil. They're like, we're breaking up the family, and we're getting rid of all of the things you love. And she's like, well, wait, that's not how it happened either. It wasn't super happy.
Right.
It wasn't super sad. It was complicated. And then she starts like the static is disappearing from her as she's starting to sort through the memories and finding her dad on the couch instead of in bed with mom, where she's starting to realize the truth of the situation, not the emotional response, the over happy, the over sad versions of those. And so she comes out of the tape, and she's mad at the cat for having shown her the emotions, but she pulls it together, and they leave the cat's car, only for the cat's car to then be drawn up to the custodian, and who we believe.
And the whole purpose of the video was she was going to get trapped.
Yeah, with her happiest memory.
She was going to
like
get trapped in her
happy versions
happy
of
memories.
the memories. But she
Right.
rejected the unnaturally happy memories.
Which is what pulls her out of the trance that she's in.
Yeah. She knows their lies. So the cat's car gets pulled up, and the custodian, and who we interpret to be the conductor, I guess, this red line that talks in a robot voice. And so it looks like the cat is working for them, and they are harsh bosses. Yeah. So and the custodian breaks the cat's things, and the cat's like, my stuff, my things, like, and you're sitting there like, should this matter to us? I feel like this is supposed to be something we care about, but it's not.
Yeah, like I don't have any the cat so far has just been an asshole, so like why do we care that your shit's being broken?
Right. So then Tulip and the Corgi and 1-1, they come to the unfinished car, which is, there's turtles, a turtle king, but like things are weird. Like there's pillars that are knocked over. There are holes in the car which are just like left open, like where like wind comes shooting in from the outside. Like buildings are missing entire walls where people are just like in their living room, but like you can clearly see outside, and so they like run a clothesline from the inside to the outside to dry their clothes.
Right.
And they use the mail. They just throw the mail into the holes with the wind, so that it can shoot mail all over the car, the town, and
He just
everyone
dumps it
gets
in the hole, and it like
Happy Christmas.
Mark Chrysler. Mark Chrysler. And they're like, some people gets everybody gets a little bit of mail, nobody's sad. And I'm like, okay.
Okay. This logic seems to work for you. And there's like jam all over the road at intersections, and because they're all turtles, they can slide across, and it's the only speed they get is sliding across jelly. Well,
my favorite part of that whole thing was the irritated police officer. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be late. I don't know why I'm gonna be late, but I know I'm gonna be late, or something like that. He's like looking right at Tulip.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna be late. Someone dried up all of the jam. No, I don't know why it happened. He's staring at her. He's like,
yeah.
I know how it happened, but I don't know why it happened. And it's just like, damn, this guy is salt personified. Like, this turtle has had a hard life. And
yes.
And this is just like the final straw in the shit sandwich that is this guy's daily commute. Like, it
seems that the rule under King Aloysius isn't so good, huh?
But so, okay. So 1-1 is like freaking out that nothing is the way it's supposed to be. It's like everything about this is wrong. And he's like trying to build walls to close off people's houses because the doors are open. And they like dry up the jam of the intersection, which causes huge traffic jams. It's a traffic jam.
Yeah.
I did not put that together till just now. Okay, it's a traffic
Damn, Chad, this show's a lot more clever than you give it credit for.
I think it's very clever. I think this show is brilliant. But that was pretty clever now that I think about it. The holes, they cover up the holes. So like the mailman doesn't know how to solve this problem. He just dumps the mail on the hole cover, and he's like, oh no, the mail didn't go anywhere. I threw it on the ground, and on the ground it stayed. Oh,
just start slamming the wooden planks that one's put over there. Just like, what the hell do I do?
And so 1-1 is on this tear trying to fix everything, which of course Tulip is seeing it's actually breaking everything. Like the world is coming apart as he is like built walls on people's houses, and now they can't dry their clothes because they can't put the clothesline from the living room to the yard anymore.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, there is a window in that particular one, and the turtle's just like running the line and against the wall, like, what am I supposed to do?
How do I get past this brick structure? Like the whole of society has broken down because they have put covers on the holes in the ground. They have dried up the jam in the road and put walls. So now there's 4 walls to the building. And he keeps trying to fix things, but is breaking everything. And so Tulip has to talk him down from trying to fix things. Like, I have to admit, the first time I watched this show, at this point in the show. I'm sitting here watching it going, I think this is one of the shows I need to be on drugs for, and I don't do drugs, so this just might not be for me.
They say that about Rick and Morty.
I know, but I love Rick and Morty even from episode 1. But yeah, so they eventually decide to put everything back, re-jam up the intersections, open up the holes. Okay, and that's how we're going to get out of the unfinished car, is to just let it be messed up. Okay. At this point, Tulip has stopped looking at her number, really, not trying to understand it.
She's gloved it.
Yeah, put a glove over it so she can't see it.
Very Michael Jackson, very Luke Skywalker of her.
Yeah. So we get to the chrome car, which has reflections everywhere. And one of my absolute fears in life, like this, you want to scare me, this would be how to do it. She's looking in the mirror of the chrome car. The door is locked. She can't just go through this car on her way forward through the train. This one's locked, and she looks in the chrome reflection, and her reflection is not doing what she is doing. It's not reflecting her. That's terrifying all the time.
So then don't see that movie Mirrors with Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer Sutherland is not scary.
When his face starts to melt in the mirror, you might reconsider.
Kiefer Sutherland looks like Kiefer Sutherland. He has reached a point where he's no longer the character he portrays. See also Sam Jackson, Nick Cage.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I can't separate. I can't get into the character to the point where I lose the actor anymore. Just me.
You feel this? Wait, you don't watch Tom Cruise movies, do you?
I don't. I never watch them.
I didn't. I mean, I wouldn't expect you to. I was gonna ask if you felt the same way about him. Anyway, this has nothing to do with Infinity Train.
Right. So the chrome car, her reflection is not doing what she is asked, and so she's like, they start having a conversation, and this reflection is really bitter about being a reflection. She is unhappy to have to be Tulip on the other side, and Tulip's like apologizing, like, I'm sorry I picked my nose in front of you. And she's like, yeah, I'm sorry you did that too. Like, just not going to be graceful about it. Not going to be like chill. Like, isn't it interesting that I can talk to you now? Just like, fuck you for all the things I have to do, but in reverse. Just hysterical.
God, it brings so much more gravity to having to fight Mirror Link in Ocarina of Time.
Right.
He's just really bitter having to have been Link's reflection.
And what's really funny is the other characters' reflections talk too. And King Atticus, the corgi, is like, every time he sees me, he just barks at me.
And he said it was a new thing too. He was like, I'm a new reflection, because I guess in Corginia there's no
mirrors.
I mean, obviously there's no mirrors, but there's no water?
There is now, because the 2-foot high flood.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tulip is like, or Mirror Tulip is like, what you have to do is switch places with me, and then I can open the door and let you out. So they do that, except Mirror Tulip doesn't want to go back into the mirror. Instead, she's like, I'm going to run away, except she realizes that she has to have something touching a mirror. So she can't leave, and Tulip's like in the mirror trying to talk to her, is like, yeah, it really sucks. but you can't do anything without, constantly being stuck to whatever situation you're in. And like having this conversation with her mirror, and that's when I was like, okay, the show's smart again. And
we're introduced to Bradley Whitford and Ben Mendelsohn are these like Blade Runner-esque, and they call them skin jobs. I think maybe.
Yeah, the mirror police who are trying to keep reflections from getting away. And I'm like,
Flexies, I think is what she calls them.
Yeah, Flex.
Or Flex. Yeah.
And she's like, they're like so serious about their job. I'm like, does this happen enough to where this is a real problem? Like,
surely Ben Mendelsohn has seen it before, because he's the grizzled like detective that is like, you wouldn't understand what I've seen, with like a toothpick or something in his mouth.
But what cracks me up is he's like every racist cop, where he's like, these freaking kids want to get away from this oppression. All criminals. We're going to literally kill this person. No charge, no trial. And I'm sitting there like, these guys are psychopaths. These are murderers here. Like,
and they only feel that way about Tulip, though, because they they don't interact with the reflections of Atticus or 1-1. It's the paramedics, and they give them warm blankets and hot chocolate.
Right. Well, they haven't switched.
You've been through so much.
They haven't switched. They are like, So Tulip eventually is like, I'll help you get away. You're gonna have to trust me. I have to be over there. So she pulls out a pocket mirror from her pocket knife, and essentially that becomes her link to get out. So she always has a mirror touching her. She's still connected. And
we saw the mirror earlier too. In the pocket knife.
Yeah. Because she pulled it out to get some jelly beans off of King Atticus's fur.
Mm-hmm. And she's going through like nail file, whatever, mirror.
Pocket
and
mirror.
I had read some of who the voice actors were, and I knew that a mirror Tulip was coming. I'm like, oh, this is the mirror Tulip. And I was like, oh. No,
this puts it away like, hey.
Yeah.
Man, that was interesting though. I'm not 100% sure I get it, but the show gets it, and that's good enough for me, I guess. So next we're introduced to the ball pit car. Oh, wait, hang on. Mirror Tulip fucks off. She's like, you know what? I know you're on this adventure. I'm gonna go on my own, do my own thing, pick my own nose. And there was just like, okay, cool. See a person who's not Mirror Tulip, because she doesn't want to go by her previous name anymore, but she also hasn't picked a new one. So they get to the ball pit car, which I absolutely love. We're introduced to a new character. It's a ball pit, like you'd find at freaking Chuck E. Cheese or Discovery Zone, and like they're in there, they're playing, and they meet a stuffed bunny who gives them these like fake challenges, like, ooh, if you're going to save us all, you've got to get up the rolly slide, then you've got to solve the tic-tac-toe board, and I absolutely love this character, and not just because he's the guy who voices Frank from the Harley Quinn show, but it's like 85% because he's the guy that voices Frank from the Harley Quinn show. A show that is almost entirely about DC characters. Frank is like my favorite character on that show, and he's just a plant. Like, and I don't mean like I mean he's a literal plant on that show. Um, and the voices are identical. He's not like similar voices or like, oh, I can tell it's the same person. It's the same inflection and personality.
Yeah, I looked up who he was, and I didn't recognize the name. I was thinking because it sounds like Keegan-Michael Key.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, and then I saw the name and I didn't recognize the name, but when I followed it to who it was, I'm like, he's the nope. Oh, he's in Ballers, or was in Ballers with JD Washington and
Gotcha.
The Rock, and yeah, he's one of his buddies, but that's how I know him.
If you haven't seen Harley Quinn, you've got to check out season 1. It's incredible. I'm not going to.
I think I started watching that one, and I was like, animation is hard for me. Like, I like it, but then I'm like, at some point, I start saying, "Oh, I'm watching a cartoon."
Yeah, it feels more like the DC universe Archer. That's what it feels like.
Okay. Then I'm on board because I love Archer.
So, all right. So jumping back to Infinity Train, the ball pit car, they get through only to be like stomped by the overseer, or the what did I call her? The curator.
The curator?
And, yeah, the thing from the Matrix. The cat and the person we kind of think of as the conductor, the big robot monster thing. And so she's like, you don't go any further. I tried to give you your tape, which would make you happy. You rejected that, but now you stop. And like beats them all up. There's a huge fight, and picks up King Atticus.
Ooh.
Pulls out a gun and shoots the dog.
Kills the dog. Well.
Ooh. Well, the dog then turns into a big cockroach monster that's going to suck out your soul, which sucks because it's now mindless and attacking Tulip. One runs away, as does the cat. But then the curator and the custodian, or the custodian and the conductor.
So many different names.
Yeah, they go away. And we're left with Tulip having trapped the Atticus roach in a tunnel. And so she eventually decides, okay, we're going to go try to fix this. And she gets 1-1, and the cat needs rescuing. So she rescues the cat, and the cat's like, well, wait, what do you want out of this? And she's like, nothing, just leave me alone, you know? And the cat's like, well, here, I think you should check out this, which is the tape of what we're going to find out is the person we've thought of as the conductor, the giant robot.
Right.
And she goes into the past, and there's this girl. She meets a boy. They grow up together. They get married. They both go to school for engineering. And then one day he dies, and she's devastated.
Well, we don't know it's him that dies.
Right. We didn't know.
They keep that obscure for a while.
Yeah. But then we find out he's died of some kind of cancer, and she's just sad, and she eventually gets on the train, and that's why
metaphor.
That's why she is trying to fix everything in the car. She's trying to change things in the Infinity Train in order to live with her husband again. Her name's Amelia, and she wasn't the original conductor. And so Tulip has saved the cat and is delivering the cat the thing she wants. And as a result, she looks at her number and it gets down to 0. And that brings an exit to the car. She's like, or to the train. And she's like, cool, I can leave. Except I can't leave it like this. So I guess we're going forward to get to our big boss fight. Where she reveals, Amelia inside the robot is now old, having spent her life trying to bring back her husband in the Infinity Train. They fight for a while. She gets a gun that will turn Atticus back into a corgi. Big, super happy moment where Atticus jumps out of the roach thing and kills the curator or whatever they are. And one finds the engine and realizes he was the original conductor and takes over the train. Amelia's deposed basically and is like, look, all I wanted to do was just control the train so that I could live in a world where my husband's back. And Tulip's, that the grown-up now is like, no, you have to learn to live without him. You have to move on to the new reality. And then Amelia reveals her number is like astronomical. She's like, it's going to take me forever. She's like, well, you got time. Get started.
Yeah.
And then Tulip leaves through her exit, having restored everybody to their party self. And the next thing we see, she's going to coding camp the next year. Her parents are still divorced. And the scary thing, when she walks by the mirror and has no reflection.
Yes. I was trying to get into the meeting at that point, and I missed that it was the next year. I thought that she had woken up like in her bed, and it was just like the same year or whatever. Like she had never left.
It was like 7 months after she got back, so it was like a year later because she spent months on the train. But
did they never was she just gone the whole time? What
they don't really address like how people dealt without her, but yeah, she was gone for months. But what's so weird because they go downstairs, like her and her dad walk out the front door, and you can see her dad's reflection, but then she walks by and she doesn't have one.
Okay. So clearly, having missed the 7 months later deal or whatever, what happened to this poor girl when she suddenly shows back up? She's like, I was on this train and there was a talking corgi king and there was this cat that had the voice of Captain Janeway, and her parents are like, who had you in their cabin?
No,
what happened to you?
Exactly. The parents were probably like, okay, we've heard your story. We both agree you were on drugs the whole time. We're glad to have you home. So that's 7 months later is like 7 months of rehab for, ecstasy or whatever other LSD, whatever hallucinogens she was on, because she talks nonsense. Although
and now she has no reflection.
I do wonder if anyone's going to notice in her life that she has no reflection. She's like, oh, it's cool, I'm a vampire. Not a big deal.
Yeah, okay. So the train is real then? I was definitely thinking it was very metaphorical.
It's metaphorical, but I also think it's in the canon real.
Yeah, okay.
So tell me what you think is going on.
Well, that's why I said it's important to address when you have things that appear on the train that have been established already in her life. I think that she very much creates the cars that she goes to.
Okay.
I mean, in a sense, I suppose. Maybe they're all already constructed, and she ends up going to the cars that mean something to her. Because like the ball pit, obviously she probably went to one like a Discovery Zone or whatever as a kid. That first one, she was able to use her coding ability in, or her what's fresh in her mind is her good guys popping bad guys. So it's very much her journey through the train is obviously her processing her grief about her parents' divorce. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
She's coming to the realization that things are going to change, and then it's not her fault. I mean, she's like, I know it's not my fault. Why would it be? But she is internalizing that
Blaming herself.
if I had been better, this wouldn't have happened. And so, yeah, her journey through the train is her realizing that nothing that she did could have saved this marriage. And she's lucky she didn't encounter Vincent Schiavelli saying, "Get off my train," because that would have just scarred her poor little heart.
Oh. So
And you?
I think a better name for this show would be Identity Train. Because I think every character is a reflection of identity and dealing with grief. Yeah, it's obviously it's the train is the process of dealing with grief, dealing with loss. Amelia, I think, is a great example of that, where she's trying to deal with loss, and she's trying to create the identity for who you are after, because you know who you were before the hardship. You know, we know who Tulip was before her parents got divorced, but trying to figure out who she is afterwards is difficult. Her companions on this, we start with 1-1, because they are one. This is one person who feels both happy and sad, guilt and innocence. It may seem like they're two characters, but they're one, and we often feel like we should be happy or sad, and so we feel guilty about feeling happy when we should feel sad, even though those emotions are not disconnected from us. They are one. This is one person, and I think that represents the extreme, the emotional approach to things. Tulip herself is logical. She wants things to make sense, and that's why she doesn't understand 1-1. 1-1 is her emotions.
Okay.
And the first thing she does with 1-1 is she tries selling 1-1 for a logical solution. And the cat, who I think represents capitalism in general, is more than happy to take your soul and process it for money, process it for commercial gain. And it's not that the cat is necessarily a villain, just opportunistic. Where the cat, you know, when you first meet the cat is literally wearing a suit, you know, because it's, hey, this is an opportunity. And if you know anything about if you've ever had that kind of huge grief moment, there are lots of capitalists looking to take advantage, sell their business and whatnot.
Is it capitalism or catapultism? I lost it. But see, at the end, though, the cat helps Tulip for no other reason, I guess, to uphold the bargain, the deal from before. I don't know, like,
yeah.
But
So okay, so the corgi, I think, kind of represents what we do to make ourselves whole again. Is we try to look out for others. We try to help other people. And if you notice, her number doesn't go up when she necessarily helps people, even though it may go up when she helps people. It's more about her personal realizations. Um,
Okay.
when she realizes she wants 1-1 more than she wants the conductor to be told about her. She would rather have a friend than have an easy solution to the current problem. Her number goes down because she's learned something about the identity she wants to have. She's built a part of the future personality she's going to have. In the crystal car, where she has to sing, the song that pops into her head isn't a necessarily specifically emotional one to anyone else, but to her, it reminds her of her family and the things she liked about her family. So she's not necessarily looking back at her family with these negative emotions, but instead seeing them in a very positive light over a stupid song, and it's a really dumb song. It like they could not have picked a dumber, more meaningless song, but to her that was super meaningful because it's the family one. The cat's car, where she's in the tape and she's learning about her view of what happened. She, in order to escape, she has to have a realistic look at those memories. It can't be overly happy. That's not realistic. Them getting back together, her parents, that's not going to happen. It's not realistic. The version where they are evil and ruining things and only divorcing to make her unhappy, that's not realistic either. And it's not helpful. So the future her has to be able to get past that. And in that scene, it's represented as static. The more covered in static she is, you see that she's not seeing reality. It's hazy to her. Static is haze. The unfinished car. This is the one I struggle with. I am reasonably certain that what I think is that emotionally, which means it's embodied by 1-1, she feels there's a correct order, a correct way things should be. And the more you try to force that to be real, the less things work because you're fighting against what's really happening. You're fighting against, trying to force our parents to stay together. It's unrealistic. And that's only going to cause problems. And everyone else seems on board with this thing that she isn't on board with. Everyone else is on board with there being jam in the streets, with there being holes and missing walls. Everyone else is on board with her parents being divorced except her. And when she tries to fight it, that ruins things. And then she has to take a hard look in the mirror.
Yeah, that's the most obvious one, I think.
Yeah. Which I think the way she's looking at it is she feels that there are people trying to force her to be normal through the grief, which is these Blade Runner guys are trying to make her be a reflection. And it's a reflection of a tulip that doesn't exist anymore. So when she sees her reflection at the end of the episode, her reflection's like, I don't know what I'm going to be. We don't know what you are going to be. And that's okay. Right. We need to go find out, though. The ball pit car is kind of a regression back to childhood, where you've got these like fantasies. I mean, even that's even a game, Her game has this kind of simplicity to it. And so the ball pit car has a simplicity to it. And
even the rabbit that takes them through is like a velveteen rabbit sort of deal, like
stuff,
maybe a stuffed animal that she had as a kid.
And all the things he has, like the force field is really just his voice going like.
Yeah.
And,
There's a force field. You can't get by.
The prize, the jiggle wiggle, is like one of those things that, like those infinity tubes, you can keep squeezing and it keeps shooting out of your hands. It's very playful, and ultimately she doesn't know where she's going, but she knows she wants to be helpful. And the more locked into her identity that she gets, the more she knows is on the other side who she is, the lower her number gets. And when it finally gets to 0, that's when she knows who she wants to be, which is exactly why she leaves the door, is because the person she wants to be is a good friend. The person she wants to be is helpful and isn't trying to force a past that can't be anymore. And that's why Amelia is so far away from it, is she spent so long building up a lack of acceptance. And you can build up a lack of acceptance in grief. I, of all people, know that,
Yeah. You think it's coincidence that we picked 2 train themed pieces of media where the ultimate takeaway is to look after others and not just yourself?
Are you saying Infinity Train is inspired by Train to Busan?
I didn't say that.
Or are you saying that writing has run out of ideas on what journey means? Journey is a train. Let's watch Snowpiercer next.
Oh, man.
With the exact same theme, by the way. Oh, man. And the whole thing just goes in a circle. It's just a circle. It's traveling around in a circle because it keeps repeating. Yeah, we got it. Thanks. Did we mention the train is the Earth? We know.
We get it.
That was a movie that wrote the metaphor on the cover box, But yeah, so Infinity Train. What'd you think?
I liked it, man. I liked it enough to get into the second season. I don't know, when you told me like we're watching this animated series, I was like, okay. First of all, the music is killer in this series.
It's like vaporwave.
It's very Stranger Things-esque.
80s synths.
Yeah. So I liked it, man. But I mean, it's because I like a lot of the voice talent they had. I like that the metaphor is there, but it's not blatant.
Yeah.
Like you and I came away, I think, with the same understanding of what's going on, but different ideas on some of the details. Picked up on different things. Like I think, I really do think that the whole spider finger thing, I think has to be the whole cave allegory. And it's like maybe something that she heard in class and like now it's coming back, but
maybe,
or maybe not, who knows.
Like my second viewing, when we watched it this week, I started looking a lot more, because the first time I watched it, it was just, I'm like, this is for kids. And just that alone, the fact that this is like a Nickelodeon show and was designed for kids, I'm like, they have very, very high faith in kids to throw this message out like this. And, I think since Steven Universe, really, there has been we can speak metaphorically, the kids will understand it metaphorically, and they will understand it literally. So the show can be good. We can also do metaphor. And we don't have to tone it down for kids.
Those are the series that always are like groundbreaking, because like you think back to Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers talked about
that was
death
very
and civil rights, and he spoke to children about these heavy issues, People are like, you can't do that. They're kids. He's like, these are the people that need to hear it the most. And he didn't dumb anything down. He did deliver it tactfully towards children, but
Sure.
I mean, I've always been a proponent that children are dumb if you speak to them like adults. If they don't understand something, they're going to try and figure it out, and if they can't, they're going to ask you to explain it. And they're sponges. They're going to absorb that, and you're going to have a child that has a vocabulary of an adult by the time that they reach middle school.
So, can I tell you my favorite kids show that I think is allegorical? I have yet to convince people that this is really the allegory, but I want to lay this out at some point. All right, brace yourselves. I wrote a whole paper on this for a government class. Fraggle Rock is about communism. Not just any communism. Not just any communism. It's specifically about response to Russian communism. All right. So I'm going to break this down, try to be concise about it. So first off, Red. The character is literally named Red. But the Fraggles have a way of life, which is that they dance their cares away. Working is for another day. Meanwhile, they're kind of this bourgeoisie thing, whereas the Dozers are your underclass communists, where they build these elaborate structures that they know are just going to be eaten by the upper class of their communist lifestyle. Now, the communist lifestyle is actually hated very strongly by three people: the king and queen, who represent England, and their idiot son, America. They have this hatred for all things Fraggle and will do what they can to stop it. The Fraggles seek wisdom from a literal pile of trash, who I think represents either Marx or Lenin. And a constant throughout the entire show is they get news updates from a guy who is completely wrong all the time. It's a metaphor.
So, I'm pretty sure Cracked has done this exact same breakdown. I'm almost positive that David Wong did one.
I wrote this in high school, but
maybe not. Maybe but I think I've heard this before.
I don't know if it's ever going to catch on, but I keep telling people Fraggle Rock is...
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're right. I think that's absolutely it.
I didn't
just
get
like
it when
the
I was a
Smurfs
kid.
is about communism.
Smurfs is about communism. Absolutely, yeah.
So it is
late.
It is my turn, correct?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Well, you said our best discussions are on bad films, so we're gonna watch Double Dragon.
Oh, okay.
What?
Okay. Double Dragon. Okay.
What? Why?
It is like it is the nexus, the perfect storm of things to make a bad movie. Video game tie-in. Director they found at Bed Bath & Beyond and were like, that guy, he looks like he could direct an action movie. Budget in the double digits.
You think it was that high?
I deliberately didn't watch it because I was like, there is nothing this movie has for me other
You've
than
never seen it?
No, I didn't watch it. I looked at the cover box and said, yep, I already know.
You know Robert Patrick is in this movie, right?
I didn't.
Robert Patrick, the T-1000 or T-1000.
My favorite character from Die Hard.
He's
2.
in this movie.
That's
Is he
awesome.
in Die Hard 2?
He is. He's like a walk-on role. Like he has a one line in it where someone's like, "Hey, you can't be here. Hey, I'm talking to you.
Oh,
What do I look like?" And then he turns around like a sitting duck. And then he shoots him. Like that's his only line in the whole movie. But yeah, he's in Die Hard 2. The reason I know that is because I watch Die Hard 2 every Christmas. Die Hard and Die
not
Hard
Die
2.
Hard?
I watch both
Oh, okay, both.
every Christmas.